You know that I've been covering this story about the illegal guns that have come from the United States, from gun stores, from gun shows, that have been purchased by people who have funneled them to the drug cartels in Mexico, fomenting some of the violence, including the death of Brian Terry, our Border Patrol agent, and Jaime Zapata in Mexico, our ICE agent, apparently killed by guns that were allowed into Mexico by the BATFE, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, which has been viciously trying to cover up their role in all of this since this news broke on no less than CBS News. So the question I had then and I have now is when is our Congress, it seems like the Mexican Congress has already said it will hold hearings on this matter because they were caught short, very upset, many of them, about the idea that the American government was actually involved in allowing these guns into Mexico. So the question is, when is the United States Congress going to get into this investigation and find out what happened here? And for that, we turn to Congressman Darrell, who's the chairman of the relevant committee. Chairman Issa, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Roger. And the answer to your question is we are involved. I have 4 of my investigators working full time on this, and we're not going to quit until we see not just an answer, but an absolute guarantee that this can never happen again.
Well, I must say we haven't seen any of that in the press, so I'm glad to hear your answer. What we have seen in the press is a cover-up by the BATFE, their spokesman the other day saying, for example, we just don't have enough agents to trace all those guns, and it was just a matter that we don't have enough people and we need a bigger budget. Well, that kind of superficial bureaucratic backside covering had better not be their best answer.
Well, Roger, they're going to have a smaller budget in the foreseeable future because government is going to have to do some austerity. It doesn't mean less agents, but it means less inefficiency. And certainly having a sting operation that has no sting in it is a terrible example of misuse of their ability to do investigations. We're going to get to the bottom of it. You know, we have no problem at all. Law enforcement all the time will allow a limited buy and follow it to the source. But what they did is they simply said, well, we need to have this in order to follow it, and they weren't following. And countless numbers of these weapons with no safeguards went off. And of course, as you know, the gun shops are often vilified for being the source. Well, in this case, they did the right thing. They contracted the agent, and they were told to go ahead. As we get to the truth, we're going to hold those who lied to us early on accountable.
Now, CBS News, Cheryl Atkinson was the reporter, blew this story wide open. Are your investigators getting cooperation on getting to the bottom of this, or it sounds like you know a lot about what has been reported? Are you actually getting to the bottom of it, or is the Obama administration stonewalling?
Well, and one of the interesting things is when this issue began with a number of senators, Republican senators, they did get stonewalled. Fortunately, as you know, my committee enjoys broad authority, including subpoena authority, and it's caused them to start giving us real answers. They've agreed to a number of things which we believe are going to lead to on-the-record interviews and discovery, significant discovery. Right now, we're in the process. We are working to make sure that we knew what CBS knew, and we are looking for additional whistleblowers in addition to our front door request.
Have you announced that you're going to investigate this issue publicly?
Well, we are announcing it to a great extent because you called me on this evening. The official announcement and some details on how we're going to proceed will come out in the next day or two to follow. But to be honest, your interest, I decided that I owed it to you to answer your question, and the question is, this is going to be one of our primary investigations because although we're often looking at waste, fraud, and abuse in government that leads to loss of money, in this case, loss of dedicated individuals, 2 individuals, and maybe more, who lost their life needlessly because AK-47s got over the border not by accident. They got there as part of effectively a plot by the very people that we believe should be protecting us from those weapons getting into the wrong hands.
Well, amen to all of that, Darrell Issa. That's exactly what I was looking for, and you have the question has been answered exactly as I hoped you would answer it, because believe me, people on this border are livid about the fact At first you had the administration, many members of it, blaming the gun stores and gun shows for arming the cartels when there wasn't evidence at the time of that happening, and then turn around and find out there was actually an active government program resulting in the same effect, and add for frosting on that cake, Brian Terry and Jaime Zapata dead, apparently at the hands of the very guns that were supposed to be part of this sting gone wrong. So is there a lot to talk about here? A lot of people down here think so.
Well, and Roger, one thing that I think we have to look at is we finally have a partner in Mexico who's willing to cooperate, to help, and to give human lives down there. There's never been a worse time not to support a Mexican government that finally is part of the solution, not just turning a blind eye. So the indignation coming out of our counterparts in Mexico is legitimate. They've given up far more lives than we have in this fight, and many of them were because of the weapons we allowed to get over the border. Well, they only made one request of us. They'll work on the drugs, they'll work on the cartels, you work on the guns, and we didn't do it.
No, just the opposite. All right, Darrell Issa with us from Congress now. Jumping to another topic, I know you've opened a website, AmericanJobCreators.com, to listen to stories from the job creators, the business people, as you are, with the business you've run for, 30 years or something, that you'd be able to listen directly to the kinds of things government could do better to make it easier for people in business to create jobs and make money, which is what they're in business to do. What are you hearing in that website?
Well, we're hearing two categories of problems. One, basically legislative expansion, much of it done by the agencies, EPA, OSHA, and others. And then we're hearing something that we were not prepared to hear so much, was the abuse, the inconsistency by the implementers of these laws, the abuse by them. We're learning only today, or not only today, but up till today, we're learning a great deal about lawsuits that are started by many groups, including environmental extremists, that then the agencies that are inviting the suits cave, pay out federal dollars as part of the settlement, and then use that as an excuse for rulemaking to further hurt American job creators. And we're seeing this pattern of everyone figures that America will somehow succeed in spite of a growing bureaucracy, inconsistency, and unfriendly attitude toward the aspirations of Americans who want to create jobs. And it's really come to the end where we're going to have to be honest. It's easier to put up a factory in Canada. It's better to put it up from a tax policy and certainly from a regulatory policy. And we used to be so far ahead of all the other developed nations when it came to a business-friendly environment. So what we're finding is not just anecdotal, but huge amounts that we're going to continue growing